Change of pace now. They are one of the most famous couples in the world, but behind the glitz and glam, Posh and Bex are facing a bitter family breakdown. Now the feud has reached new heights, with their youngest son, Cruz, sparking a social media storm. For more, we are joined by the associate editor at The Telegraph, Camilla Tomini in Hertfordshire. Camilla, good morning. Take us back in time. What is behind this family fallout?
Sam, it's so bizarre this, and there's actually a correlation, I think, between what's been happening with the Beckhams and what's been happening with the Windsors, in the idea of having a son that's gone off and married an American, and things have ended badly for the relationship with the rest of the family. If we go back to 2022, some of this set in at the couple's wedding.
It is not a scheduling issue. It is a public demotion. This version is told through the Beckham family lens, how a perfect family brand gets cornered into silence, then punished for it. If your adult child pulls away, do you chase harder or step back? From the Beckham family side, the worst part is not the rumor, it is the proof. Because rumors are noisy, but proof is quiet. Proof is who shows up. Proof is who does not. Proof is the gap where a family photo used to be. And when you're a family that has spent decades curating togetherness, you cannot win once the audience starts watching for fractures. Every normal boundary becomes a scandal. Every private disagreement becomes a public referendum on your parenting. So the instinct is to go quiet, to not feed it, to keep it dignified. But that is the trap. Silence looks like guilt when the internet is hungry. And suddenly, the family is not just defending relationships, they're defending identity. Because if the world decides you lost your son, it becomes a humiliation story, not a family story. This is why the stakes feel so high. It is not gossip, it is reputation as a weapon. In public feuds, silence becomes a confession.
Either that dress didn't materialize, or there was a falling out between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, but something set in at that point which has subsequently caused tensions. Now, although latterly the couple did continue to hang out with the Beckhams, they went to Victoria's 50th birthday in April. By the time it came for David to turn 50, however, the couple were notable by their absence. They've not actually been photographed with their parents or indeed with Brooklyn's siblings since Boxing Day last year, so almost a year ago. And then things in the last few hours have become very, very tense indeed.
This is where parents get accused of being controlling, even when the impulse might be panic. Not panic about flowers, panic about humiliation. Panic about your child's milestone becoming a circus. Then the texts leak. Now strangers are reading tone and assigning character. A frustrated message becomes a personality diagnosis. A logistical mistake becomes proof of toxicity. So what does a family do when the wedding turns into crisis management? They tighten. They try to control the damage. They try to keep it clean. And every attempt to keep it clean gets rebranded as manipulation. That is the tragedy. You try to protect your child, and you get cast as the villain anyway. Pressure does not just create mistakes, it creates mistrust. Control is what fear looks like in designer clothing.
This then sparked a load of speculation that the parents had unfollowed their son, and wasn't that a harsh thing to do? Then Cruz came forward and said, no, this wasn't a case of them not following Brooklyn Beckham. This was a case of Brooklyn turning around and blocking the rest of the family.
Wow, you know it's serious when you get blocked on Instagram. The family, this is not just a family, this is a big brand, so they're really trying to make this work, I imagine. What the family has not spoken out publicly ever. They're quite private, considering. Why do you think Cruz has now spoken out? He's the middle son, is he?
Symbolism hits harder than explanations. If Victoria designs the dress, it reads like unity. It reads like blessing. It reads like she is one of us. If the bride wears Valentino, even for valid reasons, the emotional signal can still land as distance. And when you are already anxious, you do not hear the logistics. You hear the message. You hear you are not central here. That is how families fight without admitting they are fighting. They fight through objects. The dress, the dance, the guest list, the caption, because those things can be debated publicly without anyone confessing what they are really afraid of. And the fear is simple: losing your place in your son's life. If you were the parent, would you feel snubbed here? Because once symbolism takes over, honesty gets pushed out. Nobody wins when love becomes a vote. A wedding dress can turn into a declaration.
I think what's happened here is, it's really odd actually, as you Australians would say, it's all over a chicken. Apparently Brooklyn posted a video of him brining a chicken in beer, which sounds like a thoroughly good idea to me as Christmas fast approaches. You'll be sticking on the barbecue, we'll be putting them on the oven. And basically, I think his mother liked that, and then a load of sort of observers came online and started speculating about the feud. And at that point, Brooklyn didn't want to be entertaining a load of speculation about his own family issues. And it's at that point, it appears as if he's blocked them. He's in America, they're in the UK. They don't realise until they've woken up in the morning. And Cruz wanted to set the record straight because there was mounting speculation that David and Victoria had done this to their eldest son. And Cruz, as the youngest, wanted to make clear, as he says in his own posts, my parents would never unfollow a child. Don't be ridiculous. This has happened to us, not the other way around.
Missing a 50th birthday is not small in a family built on showing up. It is not about travel. It is about priority. And parents read priority like a diagnosis. Are we still family, or are we now optional? Then you get the caption, I will always choose you. That line is romantic in a vacuum. In context, it sounds like a rebuttal, like there is an argument happening off-screen, and he is answering it in public. And then the home purchase. That is the structural lock. Geography is not just distance, it is permanence. It turns reconnection into a special occasion instead of a default. So if you are the parents watching this play out, you are not just hurt, you are cornered. You cannot respond without looking defensive. You cannot stay silent without looking cold. That's how families lose control of the story. Absence is the loudest sentence in a family feud.
How damaging could this be for this brand Beckham?
Well, brand Beckham is obviously a multi-million-pound endeavour, and it does depend on this idea of happy families. David and Victoria Beckham have built that brand on the basis of the strength of their marriage, and equally now all of the children, as they're coming of age, are branching out and doing their own thing. However, mindful of the fact that David Beckham did receive his knighthood quite recently from the King, I wonder whether any words were exchanged about how to deal with errant sons that happen to be turned away from the family after marrying Americans. I do think it's significant, and most parents and indeed grandparents watching this will be able to sympathise, I think, with David and Victoria in this. If it wasn't for them, all of their success, all of their wealth, Brooklyn Beckham wouldn't be anybody that anybody recognised as a household name. He's gone off and carved a kind of career as a photographer, now trying to be a chef. I would humbly suggest he wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for the Beckham brand itself. So I think there'll be sympathy, not least at Christmas, for a couple that have built up careers from literally nothing. David Beckham's footballing skills and Victoria being in the Spice Girls. So it's probably a bit of a slap in the face to see the son that they've given everything to now turn against them.
I can imagine there's a few, that ungrateful child conversations going on in the Beckham kitchen. Camilla Tomini, thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
A vow renewal is supposed to be sentimental. Here, it reads like a boundary announcement, a celebration with witnesses that quietly confirms the old family unit is not at the center anymore. Then, the friends comment lands like gasoline. It reframes the conflict as control and toxic ties. That may be true, it may be defensive. You cannot prove it from the outside, but it does one thing perfectly. It pushes the public to pick a side. And once the public picks a side, reconciliation gets harder, because every private conversation now has an audience in the background. Every apology becomes a headline risk. Every olive branch gets interpreted as surrender. This is why families implode in public, not only because of what happened, but because of how it gets narrated. And the final irony is this: the internet will blame whoever fits the oldest stereotype. That does not repair anything, it just sells the story.